temperature-wise, would you say it's warm in here, or would you say it's cool?
Feeling a little warm. Appreciate it. Oh no. welcome. It's good to see you.
Shabbat Shalom. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Shelley Hendon, a past president, and to be your president for starting in January. However, this is my dress rehearsal, and Wendy is ill. She isn't feeling well, and Jerry's out of town, so they asked me to start my tenure in December. So, as I said, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. So nice to see you here, and let's begin our service. It's been a while. I now call Judy Elias to light the candles.
We are starting our service on page 82.
These lights are only flickering flames, and flames in the room are uncertain to death. Flames remind us of Shabbat, long ago, and of the beauty that delights our heart. May they inspire us to work to the great Shabbat.
Thank you very much. We continue on page 84, and the choir and the cantor lead us in Shalom Aleichem. Oh, I'm sorry, something's happening before Shalom Aleichem.
Sabbath prayer.
Sabbath prayer. Scratch Shalom Aleichem. Beautifully done. Page 85, please.
I now call Nancy and Tom Moore to open the ark.
Let us please stand. continue the service on page 87 with the affirmation of our faith. Bottom of the page. Page 90, we continue in the middle of the page, responsively. Violence shall no longer be heard in your land, desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children will be taught of your God, and great shall be the peace of your children. You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One, and my servant whom I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me.
We are Israel, O God, when we proclaim you God, our Redeemer, as did our ancestors on the shores of the Red Sea.
The Mikra Mocha prayer on page 91 will be rendered by the cantor and choir, and it talks about asking the question, who is like God? There is none like God among all the gods that are called God. Mikra Mocha. Page 94, continuing on the top of page 95, we have a rendition of the Amidah, which we will say responsively. God of all generations of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, of Sarah, Rebekah, Leah, and Rachel, be praised. Your wondrous creative power fills heaven and earth. God of life and death, be praised. Your blessed and wonderful Father, even in the sick, freedom to the captive, confirm faithfulness to those who sleep in the dust. Awesome and holy God, be praised. With acts of love and truth, we hallow your name, as it is said, be holy, for I, your eternal God, am holy. God of time and seasons, be praised. Enable us to Sabbath rest, to explore and learn, and mark our readings of your Torah. Make our hearts ready to serve you this day and all days. We continue on page 96 with some silent devotion. nicely done. Now I'm going to ask all those who have friends or relatives who are ill and looking for a little assistance in getting well, such as a prayer asking God to send healing and to help us heal those who are under the weather. So if you have names of people you want us to remember, I want you to call them out now. In the past, I've asked if people want to give me names that I can read, and so far somebody has, so I will read them. For a Mishabera, Rachel Kaplan, A. Goodman, Maria Sears, Yitz Zlotnik, and Grace Bonell. In the future, if anybody would like me to call names out to encourage the healing process, please feel free to do so. In the meantime, let us turn to the inside cover of our prayer books as we join together with the Cantor Choir in rendering the Mishabera prayer, asking God to help us find the healing we all look for. Service, the dedication of a Torah given to us in memory of one of our Gabayim, one of the people who stood with us in response to the need, guard, safeguard our faith and our Torah, the symbol of our faith. I will ask everyone to please stand now. Edie, hold this Torah. Dedicated to, in beloved memory of Seymour Evans, lovingly donated by Edith, Andrea, Eileen, and Leslie. Tonight we celebrate the life well lived. His participation with us here in Sun Lakes was and remains a blessing and an inspiration for all of us. We have all been touched by his love for us and his steadfast devotion to this congregation for which he served as Gabbai for many years. In fact, I think I elevated him to Chief Gabbai. The true meaning of Gabbai is protector. He was a protector of the faith and the adherence to ritual expressions for all who make Sun Lake's Jewish congregation their spiritual home. His family, headed by his loving wife, Edie, have graciously gifted this Torah in memory of a loving and caring husband, father, grandfather, and friend. This gift to our congregation will remain a symbol of his dedication to the continuity of our presence here in Sun Lakes. We gratefully accept and dedicate this gift to the sacred purpose of our congregation, honoring the memory of Dr. Seymour Evans. Yehi Zichro Baruch, may his memory continue to be blessing for us and inspire us to continue to do acts of goodness and dedication. Please be seated. Simon was a very unique individual, and he is missed more than you can imagine by many of us. It was a beautiful gesture that you did, donating this Torah for the congregation, and we are, as I mentioned, eternally grateful for your charitable efforts and your dedication to this congregation you love so much. Thank you. Now we will continue the service with the Torah Service starting on page 142.
And call our rabbis for this evening, Michael Cohen and Michael Freed.
And once more, I ask you to please rise. That will live forever in infamy, the 80th anniversary of December 7th. Inspire us through these experiences and teachings to love and uphold our precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and the freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, a defender of dignity. And let us always champion the values that make our nation a haven for the persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. We pray for courage and conscience as we aim to support our country's highest values and aspirations, the hard-won rights that define us as a people, the responsibilities that they also entail.
Thank you.
with the rendering of the Shema. Please be seated. Thank you.
Today's Torah reading is a unique
Reading, because it begins the chapter that will eventually lead us into the captivity that lasted 400 years in the land of Egypt. It starts with the story of Joseph. Joseph was the youngest son of Jacob. And because he was the youngest, of course, he was the apple of his eye. And that caused friction between him and his brothers. Needless to say, if you have more than one child, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you show favoritism to one child over another, you're bound to find problems and issues. And this is a perfect example of it. Jacob goes so far as to create a coat of many colors, which he gives Joseph to show his love for him. And that, of course, inflamed the passions of his brothers because they felt they were being neglected, especially the firstborn, and all the rest of them. They just couldn't understand why Joseph was loved that way. Joseph was the son of Rachel. Rachel died in childbirth, giving birth to Joseph. And that's another reason why he was favored among all of them. And so begins the story of how the brothers take out their vengeance on Joseph, and eventually they sell him into slavery to the caravan that is passing by, which eventually takes him to Egypt. The story, most of us will be repeating it over and over again come March when we celebrate the festival of Passover. But this story leads us into the most tragic and difficult time in the history of our people. As I mentioned, 400 years of captivity, and then eventually freedom and salvation. So we will start the Torah reading with the first and only Aliyah tonight, Litman ben Sender.
Len Dolman.
It's the pointer.
Orku et Adonai HaBarak. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Bo'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bakar banu b'kohanim. V'natan et toraso. Baruch atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. Vayoshev Yaakov be'eretz Beguri, Aviv be'eretz Canaan. And Joseph is, Jacob is living in the land of Canaan. Elah Toldos Yaakov and his children, Vayosef ben Sheva Esrei Shana, and Joseph was 17 years of age. Hu et Achiv Batzon, V'hu Na'ar et B'nei Below v'zod b'nei v'lefa nasi oviv. And the essence of it is that Joseph, as I mentioned, was favored by Jacob because he was born in his old age and looked to him as the youth that he lost so many years ago.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'kayeh olam natan tzokenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Oh, I'm sorry, there is a second Aliyah.
Yes.
Drezel Hendel Bat Joseph and Zvi Hirsch Ben Joseph and Sura Zelman.
Diane and Greg Pozniak.
Sorry about that. There he is, right here.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Hamorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Amen.
Baruch Adonai Hamorah Milam Vahed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar lanu mikol ha'amim, v'natam lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. V'Yisrael av et Yosef Mikol Banav. And Joseph, as I mentioned, was loved above all the children that Jacob had. Kibein b'zakanim, as I mentioned before, because he was the child of his old age. Ulo v'asa lo ketaba pasim. And he wanted to recapture, as I mentioned, I didn't realize we had a second Aliyah, I jumped the gun. But he wanted to recapture his youth, and he did it through Joseph.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah temet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please. And now we're getting ready to return the Torah to the ark.
For Hava and Galila, I call Barbara and Bruce Coachman.
We're on page 146.
And for those of you that don't know this, these are new members of our congregation. So we welcome them.
Let us please stand.
Bezot HaTorah asher Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe.
Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast. and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace.
It's
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Tonight I want to talk about something that has been part of our landscape for a long time. Talk about character and responsibility. Numerous times we hear from different people that their concept of right and wrong can be found in their understanding of spirituality. It's used frequently to describe a partnership with God that requires confrontation, not acceptance. We are taught that we need to understand. To do that, you need to question. To question, sometimes you have disagreements. Sometimes when you have disagreements, you have arguments. We're required, even obligated, if you listen to our name, Yisrael, it means struggling with God. We got the name when Jacob was struggling with the angels. It taught us that to accept things without getting involved and trying to figure out why we accept these things is not the way to learn or to understand. One of the beautiful gifts we were given by God was the gift of choice. And in order to choose, you have to understand what it is you're choosing. To do good, do bad, whatever. And it also builds character because you assume responsibility when you investigate and inquire and learn. But what is it we question? What should we question? Primarily, I would suggest that we are concerned with the existence of evil. I don't think anybody's surprised about that. There has always been evil. There will always be evil. But the eternal quest is to understand why there is evil and the part it plays in our lives and the things we do or don't do. But on the other hand, most of us are romantics. We believe that good will win out over bad. Sometimes we're disappointed. A lot of times we're disappointed. The psalmist and the prophets try to teach us that a time will come when all will be right with the world. Yet we still grapple with the notion of evil versus good because not everything is right with the world. Perhaps we spend too much time on why and not enough time on what. We will never come up with a confident answer that says why there is evil. and why evil sometimes overcomes good, we will never find the answer to that. But what is the essence of what we're talking about? That is where choice comes in. That is where our obligations to be the best we can takes root. I've mentioned to you numerous times, we have a partnership with God. God is one part of the equation, we're the other part of the equation. One cannot work without the other. One cannot survive without the other. No matter how you believe, or how you practice, or how you observe, that's not the issue here. The issue is to understand our place in the universe and how we got here and why we're here. The what also contains the understanding that we have to take responsibility for what we do and even what we don't do. We have a tendency to scapegoat, going all the way back to Adam and Eve. Eve convinces Adam that they should eat from this tree that God told them not to, as they were enticed by the snake. So when God finally discovers that they did this, God says, "What is going on? I told you not to eat this fruit." And Adam looks him square in the eye and says, "She made me do it." That's scapegoating, not taking responsibility for our actions. Not understanding that he had the choice to not do it. And he chose to do it. So what was the outcome of all that? They were banned from the garden. The snake was caused to roll on his belly from now on, not on legs. Women were given the opportunity to have children, but they would have pain in childbirth. That's what the Bible tells us. And those of you who have had children, I'm sure, understand. If we don't take responsibility for our actions and do what is right and understand why we're doing it, then we have a lack of respect for life. We don't respect each other because that is part of the equation. If you are contrary, you certainly don't have respect for yourselves or for others. Not speaking out when we see injustice is contrary to this understanding of the regard for life. So now there's two issues here: respect for life and regard for life. We are responsible to each other, and we need to be concerned about all that is around us. We have a tendency to shy away from issues because we're afraid. We don't want to get involved. Let the next guy do it. To be a true partner with God requires us to do what is expected of us. And that path is laid out in the Bible. You can read it over and over again, and you will come up with new ideas because each word tells us different things every time we read it. We're witnessing right now what it means to be passive in our relationship with each other. The indiscriminate murders that are taking place in our communities. The mayhem. Realize when we decide to intimidate and introduce fear, the systematic racism that has polarized our society. The murdering of children who go to school to learn. And what do they learn? They learn fear. The wanton destruction of our cities. You look about it all the way. They had the news telling us constantly, murder is up 50% in this village and 20% in this town. And it's because we are not taking our responsibilities as citizens to make sure that we can do something about someone made me do it is not acceptable. It's an excuse, and eventually will come back to bite us. We forget sometimes that we have the ability to be productive and caring and sharing with everyone. We've lost to our ability, it seems that we've lost our ability to be partners with God in ensuring peace and tranquility. I could go on and on, but it's like preaching to the choir. But the truth of the matter is we have to be made aware all the time, because we go home, we forget. We turn off the TV, we forget. We read the newspaper, we forget. And the news that was today is no longer the news of tomorrow. We have to be able to resist temptation, to hide our heads in the sand. This is what we were created for, to be responsible for each other. That's why we come together as a synagogue, to be responsible for each other as Jews living in a community in which we are a minority. But yet we're a vocal minority because we understand the importance to be here, to make people aware that we're here, and we have a contribution to make to society as we've done throughout our history. Look at the Nobel laureates. We outnumber the recipients 10 to 1. All the innovation and creation that has come forth, the creation of this vaccine by Moderna and Pfizer have at their helm Jewish CEOs who put their minds and hearts at the effort to cure this incurable disease. And yet we still find people that won't even take a shot in the arm. And they claim it's because of freedom. Well, I have no problem with people's freedom as long as it doesn't interfere with my freedom. And that's where the difficulty comes in. So yes, character and responsibility, that's what we're here for. To learn how to be better people by not turning our heads and burying them in the sand. As we embark on another year coming, as we just completed a holiday called Hanukkah. Hanukkah means dedicate. We must remember to dedicate our lives to the survival of our people, the survival of our congregation, the survival of each other in this crazy world that we're living in right now. That's the lesson we should take from this season. Even our Christian brothers and sisters, the episode of light. Light is there to give us the understanding that there's a better time, there's a better place, there's a better tomorrow than there was yesterday. Would you tell them I'm busy? So let's hope that as we begin a new chapter in our lives together, that we will find comfort and salvation and meaning and fulfillment as we continue to grow older, not old, grow older, and maybe we will gain some wisdom as we do. Amen.
Rabbi, tonight we would like to dedicate our anthem to your very special birthday. And we're singing The House I Live In, which we know you like. And our soloist tonight will be not only Shay Marshall, our favorite accompanist, and after we sing our song, Shay sings, we will join in. We hope you'll all sing happy birthday to our favorite rabbi.
What is America to me? A name, a map, a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? The house I live in, a plot of earth, the street, the grocer and the butcher and the people that I meet, the children in the playground, the faces that I see, all races, all religions, that's America to me. The place I work in, the worker at my side, the little town or city where my people lived and died, the howdy and the handshake, the air of feeling free, the right to speak my mind out, that's America to me. The things I see about me, the big things and the small, the little corner newsstand and the house a mile tall, the wedding and the churchyard, the laughter and the tears, the dream that's been a-growing for 245 years. The house I live in, the street, the house, the room, the pavement of the city, the garden all in bloom, the church, the school, the clubhouse, the million lights I see, but especially the people. That's America. That's America to me. Won't you all join me? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to
Thank you so much. I'm really very touched by these efforts. Thank you. People. I know it was difficult to come out because of the COVID. I appreciate that you made the effort. And let's hope as time goes on, the COVID will certainly disappear and we will be able to fill the pews once more with everyone. Thank you for making the effort. I really appreciate it.
We have other birthdays this month and anniversaries that we'd like. I have to take my glasses off to read. Most people put them on, I take them off. For anniversaries for this month, we have Charles and Judy Wallen, Greg and Diane Kosniak, Robert and Karen Kaplan, Dennis and Phyllis Novy, Neil and Susan Tamber, Alan and Leah Bloom, Richard and Noreen Nadler. So happy anniversary to many of you. Wish you were here with us so we could find out how long you've been married. We love to do that. Rabbi loves to ask that question. Birthdays. Well, Leah Bloom had a birthday and an anniversary this month. Tom Moore, Seymour Zulte, Dennis Novy, Judy Asbell, of course, Erwin Weiner, Milton Lewis, Kevin Murphy, John Scheck, Sandra Frindell, happy birthday, Sandra, I see you here, Fritzy Ferguson, Marshall Gorrigan, Vera Stein, Jeff Burns, Caesar, Alice Salida, Evie Freed, Adrian Bendick, Richard Nadler, Faith Roth, and Greg Stian. Happy birthday. Many, many more. Many happy anniversaries and happy birthdays to all of you. And thank you for those of you that are here to celebrate.
Now let's join with the choir as we sing the Shechianu for all those celebrating milestones in their lives. Milestones in their lives, have good blessings, good health, happiness, and above all, longevity as we can celebrate year after year these milestones in our lives. God bless all of you.
I want to apologize. I was remiss to welcome those of you that are streaming at home. Welcome to our service. Announcements. The December Jewish War Veterans meeting are now changed at their new location in the Oakwood Country Club in the poolside, formerly the Poolside Cafe. 9:30 a.m., a complimentary lox bagels and coffee. Reservations required, so we have enough food. They never run out, believe me. Contact Joyce Martonis. It's a 10 a.m. meeting, begins at, this, as I said, this new location at Oakwood. The speaker is Tess Moscow Shearer, who is the executive director of the Arizona Art Alliance. He will tell about their program to give back to veterans through therapeutic fine art instruction, which to help veterans deal with the wounds of war, namely post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury. Our commander, Chuck Wallen, is here. Chuck, wave your hand. If any of you have any questions, you can talk to him after the service. Okay, now I have to get the glasses off. We have a new group started called the Grief Support Group. We announced the formation of a second grief support group. The first has been meeting at Rosen Reserve with a long break due to COVID. Bobby Sachs, one of our congregants, is a trained and experienced grief counselor and a member of as I said, a member of our congregation who facilitates the meetings, which will be scheduled on a continuing basis on the second Wednesday of every month at the Chapel Center at 1 p.m. We all grieve in different ways and on different timetables. Whether you have lost a spouse, partner, parent, sibling, child, grandchild, or close friend, loss brings on many unresolved feelings. This group represents a safe environment in which to listen and possibly share your own feelings. There's no charge for this group. Masks are optional, but for everyone's safety, please do not attend if you have not been vaccinated for COVID. And I think a blast went out. I think this was written before. Masks are mandatory. Men's Club is scheduled Mark Krell, the ADL Associate Regional Director, to speak in the next meeting on Tuesday, January 4th at 6:30 at the Chapel Center. The entire congregation is welcome to attend this event. Mark will talk about the recent anti-Semitic incident at the Chandler Unified School Board meeting, as well as the history of anti-Semitism in the Valley and the Jewish community's response. Sisterhood has a program on Thursday, 12/16, 1 o'clock at the Chapel Center. Please wear a mask. The speaker is the first female Army Ranger, along with a representative from the Maternity Outreach for Moms program to assist pregnant veterans in providing items for mothers and their newborn babies. If you would like to bring something unwrapped, please, you will find a list in the spiel. And let me tell you, I went to Target the other day and I had a ball. It was fun shopping again for a child. Mark your calendars also for the Sisterhood Cross our fingers. Annual card party, which will occur on Monday, February 7th at the Cottonwood Country Club. It's a little different this year. It's not at Oakwood, it's at Cottonwood. As you plan for the year, and please remember that you have an opportunity to raise money for Sun Lake's Jewish congregation. Make an Arizona state tax credit donation to East Valley JCC. 18% of the donation will be returned to the Sun Lakes Jewish Congregation General Fund. That's all the announcements I have. I'm glad to see so many of you here, and I hope we'll continue seeing more of a full house. And happy birthday, Rabbi.
Okay, we begin to wind down our service, and we will now hear the cantor render the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'aven. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadishu be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinelanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tevilu l'mikra'im goresh, sefer l'tziut Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'chorta eltanu, ki rashta mikol aviv, v'shabbat kodshecha u'v'ratzon hinachatanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadosh Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
I now call Arthur Fink to do the motzi. Matzah. That's not for a while, isn't it? One a night and so good.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Now we the adoration on page 148.
I now call Wendy and Alex Goldstein to open the ark. Please rise.
Aleinu l'shamech l'adon hakol, l'tin gedolah l'rotzeh reshit, shelo asav
those who were killed in Michigan, students who were going to school and found out their lives had ended so suddenly. Kent will now render the El Mole for them, as well as the pandemic victims. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, we ask you to grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to those who have succumbed to the pandemic and the innocents whose lives were taken at such a young age, who have now entered eternity. O God of mercy, let them all find refuge in your eternal presence, and let their souls be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. We know that you are their inheritance, dear God. May they all rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Let us now turn to page 151.
Before I do the reading, I again want to thank all of you for attending tonight to help us celebrate the Rabbi's birthday. And thanks again for our sound people, for Shay, that wonderful rendition. What a beautiful voice you have. We love you. Rhonda, Lana, the choir, you're all outstanding. Now, facing death. The contemplation of death should plant within the soul elevation and peace. Above all, it should make us see things in their true light. For all things which seem foolish in the light of death are really foolish in themselves. To be annoyed because someone has slighted us or has been somewhat more successful in social distinctions, pulled himself somehow one rung higher up the ladder than ourselves. How ridiculous all this seems when we couple it with the thought of death. To pass each day simply and solely in the eager pursuit of money or fame, this also seems like living with shadows when one might take one's part with realities. Surely when death is at hand, we should desire to say, I have contributed my gain to the great store of the eternal. I have borne my part in the struggle for goodness, and let no man or woman suppose that the smallest social act of goodness is wasted for society at large. All our help, whatever it be, is needed, and though we know not the manner of the fruit of every faithful service is gathered in, let the true and noble words of a great teacher ring in conclusion upon our ears. The growing good of the world is partly dependent on unhistoric acts, and that things are not so ill with you and me as they might have been, is half owing to the number who have lived faithfully a hidden life and rest in unvisited tombs.
Remember at this time Julius Aronson, Irving Arnell, Naomi Axelrad, Sophie Baer, Jeannie Berenzweig, Dan Berg, Teresa Vesecchio, Sidney Bloom, Edward Bloomberg, Marilyn Bloomberg, Summer Al Brooks, Fanny Bush, Francis Calcaterra, Margaret Klein, Pauline Cohn, Sidney Cohn, Minna Cohn, Ray Cohn, Pearl Cook, Stephen Corbin, George Dolinsky, Rosetta Dolinsky, Betty Dubinsky, Harold Donier, Irving Evans, Elizabeth Feinberg, Charles Fink, Sophie Fisher, Saul Gass, Bessie Gerson, John Gerson, Irving Ginsberg, Sylvia Glazer, Alan Goldman, Marilyn Goldsmith, Grace Gould Earhart, B. Clement Clay Granoff, Irving Green, Celia Gutwillig, Joel Gutwillig, George Holstein, Jean Jacobs, Minna Khan, Dorothy Kaplan, Alexander Catcher, Faye Katz, John Kopsenau, Julia Koss, Mark Nellenson, Edith Ornstein, Max Rosendale, Regina Rosenfeld, Jerome Roth, Helen Roth, Zelda Rothstein, Sidney Rudin, Teddy Sardina, Sam Schaefer, Mars Schulman, Sarah Shallett, Simon Shapiro, Irving Silverman, Stuart Silverman, Meyer Solko, Anna Solko, Charles Stein, Anna Stern, Irving Sternhill, Lynn Stone, Dorothy Tatesman, Harry Temkin, Harvey Trachtenberg, Ronald Weiner, Minnie Elias, Esther Engel, Tilly Levinson, Valentine Morris, Harry Weiner, Ada Jacobi, Hilda Schulman, Jack Weiner, Batya Roche. We have all these in our minds and hearts as we turn to page 154. And in their memories and all the memories of our loved ones, we say together, Yitkadal Yitkadash Shmei Rabba, Mi'alma Divrach Rute Mi'amid Malchute, V'chayekon Yimekon V'chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala V'zman Korib V'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Korach Le'olam Hom Le'omayel, Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitkoar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh, V'yidadar V'yidaleh V'yidalal Shmei V'kusha B'richu, Le'elam in Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushchata V'nechemata, Ya'amiran V'yalma V'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Oleinu V'yalkod Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'ramah, Uyaseh Shalom, Oleinu V'yalkod Yisrael V'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. The men and women who serve our country who have died on the field of battle, the men, women, and children who also perished in the Holocaust. In all their names, we say, Amen. The closing hymn has been a surprise, so I can't announce it. Okay.
Shelley has an announcement.
Following that, we'll have the benediction.
One more announcement. As you go out, there will be a piece of cake in a box in honor of the rabbi's 85th birthday. So don't forget to take it. It looks wonderful.
Forget diets.
That's right.
Thank you.
appreciate the effort. Shay, you never cease to amaze me. The choir, unbelievable. Just do an outstanding job. And let's not forget our illustrious choir director. And I have to tell you, you get better as the months and years progress. And I wish you continued success. And our new president to be, my sympathies.
Everybody keeps shouting me.
And now, if you'll rise for the benediction. May God bless each and every one of you and keep you. May his countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may God give us the greatest blessing of all, the blessings of peace, our hearts, our minds, in our land and throughout the world, the peace we so desperately need. And let us all say, Amen. And I want to thank the sound people too, I keep forgetting. And Doug, thank you. Yes, it's okay. Everyone, Shabbat Shalom.